So I've decided to do this entire review with my back facing the camera. Because as I'm sure you know, in most horror movies, the moment you turn your back, there is some ghost or some demon ready to stab you in the throat. I'm taking the necessary precautions. I ain't afraid of no ghosts, but I'd rather not be dead. What's up, guys, and welcome back. Josh Perez here. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are safe. And most of all, I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, because I know I am, because I got to check out a little movie called Kuwaresma last night, and it is taking me forever to get to checking out this movie and reviewing it, but I am excited to do so because a few of you actually were recommending this movie to me, so I knew that there was a lot of interest for it and a little bit of buzz, especially when you have two major players, two big actors in this film. So I'm excited and I'm ready to talk about it. A huge thank you to those of you who had recommended this movie to me, because I was really digging this movie. So Kuwaresma, or also known as The Entity, is directed by Eric Mati, starring John Arcilla and SHARON Cuneta, two really big name Filipino actors delivering some really great performances in this movie. And that's kind of where I wanted to kick things off with the performances from both these actors. Kuwaresma is about a young boy named Luis. He's away from home in school, and he suddenly receives a call from his family telling him to return because his sister has passed away. But little does he know of the dark secrets and mysteries surrounding the house that they grew up in. And as I mentioned earlier, John Arcilla is in this movie playing Arturo, which is Luis's father. And what a coincidence that this is the second Filipino movie review I do with another actor from Birdshot. The last movie I did for Aurora had Arnold Reyes in it, and now we have John Arcilla in this movie. So I thought that was pretty cool, because both those actors are pretty big and well known. And I just love John Arcilla's performance of this character in this movie, because this is a father who starts at this downward spiral into madness. And this is not a person I would mess with. Or if this was my own dad, I would be terrified. Or if I had seen him in the store or out in public or the streets, I would stay clear away, and not just because of COVID, social distancing. I would probably multiply that times 10. Like the way he plays his father in this movie, he is so intimidating. Like, this is not a father you would want to disappoint or piss off. Like, you would probably never want to come out of your room. Like, if he was my dad, I would probably lock the doors, nail some 2x4s to it, and just hide under my bed. He was very, very menacing and scary. This is the kind of dad who's gonna make you mow your lawn with chopsticks, like just pulling each blade of grass one by one with chopsticks. And there are scenes of dialogue with him that just kind of gradually starts as concerning and then just goes into mature and more vulgar conversations. Would your father be talking to you this way or giving you this kind of advice? And that's where I bought into the fact that this guy was crazy, and he just did such a great job playing a character's descent into madness. And from what I've been told and read about, SHARON Cuneta is a hugely successful and very popular Filipina actress, and she only matched John Arcilla's performance in this movie, both of them giving very dynamic and convincing performances into these characters. And I just love how she played this sympathetic mother who was just, stricken by grief and turmoil, and she felt defenseless, and I felt really bad for her because it just seemed like she never had an exit or a way out of this situation that would protect her and keep her children safe. And she just didn't know what to do. I also thought they really nailed it when it came to sound design and music. Sure, you have some of the typical horror sound tropes that you'd find in most horror movies, like someone who's upstairs who shouldn't be upstairs, and you hear them running, or from whispering or the whistling. Like, it's very tension building. And I really loved how the soundtrack just kind of matched the tone of the movie. And I don't know what it is about violins and orchestrated soundtracks for horror movies, but I felt like it really delivered on the horror experience. And the cinematography in this movie, they really give you a world that was grim and bleak. And I just love those scenes where they used fog and mist to kind of just give you that real desolate feeling, and it really worked. And some of the imagery in this movie just sent chills down my spine. And I don't want to talk about any of those because some of them are kind of spoilerish, but wait till you get to that basement scene and maybe sleep with a nightlight. And I don't mean like one of these little nightlights. I mean like one of those big 30-foot tall spotlights. Like if you could fit that in your room, that would be great. You'd have a great night sleeping if just wear some sunglasses. And I thought the pacing worked out really well for me. Like I loved how the story just kind of slowly unravels throughout the film. And especially with that big twist at the end, I did not see that one coming. And it is definitely a twist that's gonna introduce a bit of controversy and some social commentary. And you know, that's just one of the themes that are going on in regards to how men are portrayed and women. And you know, I like the relevance of those themes because you know, there are some topics that, you know, some people don't talk about and like we should be talking about. So I feel like this movie really delivered, especially with the performances and the tone that this movie sets. Like this is not a movie that's filled with cheap jump scares. There may be one or two jump scares that you're gonna see coming that are very typical, but you know, aside from that, I felt like they did a really good job, like not giving us, you know, what's usually expected. Sound design was fantastic. Music was great. And even though this movie may look familiar, especially if you've seen movies like The Conjuring or the Amityville Horror, which I felt like this was a lot like that, like it's not necessarily a bad thing because this movie does everything else so well, in my opinion. So I'm gonna give Kuwaresma Groovy Juice. I feel like this movie is a really great achievement, especially for Filipino horror cinema. So I encourage you to check it out. And if you've seen the movie, like, let me know what your thoughts are on it in the comments below. And I have a great question for you guys. We're gonna get a little bit personal here, so don't be shy. What is one thing that you are afraid of, or one thing that you were afraid of growing up as a kid? For me, if you were an 80s baby, you will remember My Buddy, because that thing was as close to Chucky as you can get with dolls. And the funny part is, I don't even ever remember asking Santa for it or my parents for it. I think it just kind of showed up. And that was freaking terrifying. Another one for me was having my bedroom door open. I know most kids preferred having the door open, but I always had to have mine closed because, like, if a monster is gonna come into my room, I need the door handle turning to be a warning. So that way, at least I could jump out head first out the window. So yeah, leave your answers down below. I can't wait to check those out and see what your kryptonite is. And once again, thank you to those who recommended this movie to me. And I will check you guys out in the next review. Keep it groovy.